What's up guys, Jay here and welcome back to another video. Today I have something a little bit different planned out for you guys. We all know that Deep Rock Galactic is an incredibly fun game and is even possibly one of the best games to come out in recent years. I know for me personally it ranks very high on my list, but there are a lot of other games out there that have gameplay similar to Deep Rock Galactic. So I thought it would be fun to put together a list of those games and talk about how they are similar to DRG so that people who enjoy this gem of a game can try out other titles and see if they like them just as much. After a lot of research, testing, and looking around on Reddit, I think I have put together a pretty good list. Also, one last note is that this video is not sponsored by any of these games. If there are any games that I hype up a lot in this video, it's because I genuinely enjoy it. So if you guys are ready, here are 5 games that are similar to Deep Rock Galactic in no particular order.
To mates, to darkness, and to making it back alive.
Before we get into the list, first I want to set the conditions and parameters that I will be comparing these games to Deep Rock Galactic with. Now it's hard to simplify things down specifically since every game is different at its core, so I came up with 3 main factors to use as my tools for comparison. First, DRG is a cooperative experience at its core, so I wanted to pick games that have a strong focus on working together with your team and everyone having their own positions to fulfill. So games that have class-based systems and roles that only certain classes can do are a good match for this category. Second, I wanted to pick games that are not inherently competitive. One of the things that makes DRG so fun is the fact that there is no competitive nature to it or any kind of PvP. So I wanted to pick games that don't have any kind of hyper-competitive nature or at least as little as possible and still be fun. Third, I wanted to pick games that are relatively easy to get into, or at the very least start playing and then learn the rest as you go. DRG has a very simple and easy to grasp gameplay loop, and I wanted to pick games that are somewhat similar in their gameplay loop. Some are definitely more complex than others, and I'll get into that later, but they still provide that loop of gameplay that gives you plenty to do. Finally, before we start, I do want to just clarify that this list is purely based on my personal opinion and conjecture, so it is by no means meant to be taken as the standard default for DRG-like games. If there is a game here that you think shouldn't be, or there isn't something here that you think should be, let me know down in the comments, and maybe I'll do another one of these in the future. But with all of that out of the way, now let's get into the list.
An extra miner has been assigned to your team.
Starting off the list is actually going to be 2 honorable mentions. The reason that these games are honorable mentions and not on the actual list is because I haven't played them myself or have only played a very small amount of them, so it's hard for me to say for myself. However, when I was doing research on this list, these games were very high on people's recommendations, so I felt like it was appropriate to at least mention them first. First honorable mention on our list is Payday 2. This game was one of the most mentioned when I looked at other people's recommendations for DRG-like games. Unfortunately, I have only played maybe 1 or 2 missions and I never had anyone else to play with, so my experience is very limited. Payday 2 is an action-packed 4-player co-op shooter where you and up to 3 friends work together to try to rob DC for all it's worth. You work together to rob banks, jewelry stores, and other places of value to try to get as much of a payout as possible. The game has a large amount of customization both in terms of your player and weaponry, but also in how you play each mission. Each job allows for multiple approaches, such as slow and stealthy ambushes or running in guns blazing. You can hit the targets any way you want and each approach will provide a different experience. Payday 2 is a great option for people who like the co-op nature of DRG but would like a little more crime in their lives. The second honorable mention we have today is a game called Void Bastards. This is a game that I had no idea existed until I started researching for this video. Void Bastards is a first-person shooter that has an art style and sense of humor similar to that of Deep Rock Galactic. The game revolves around a procedurally generated structure in which the player enters other ships, fighting enemies, and salvages materials to repair their own ship. If the player dies, they are replaced by another rehydrated prisoner. When a prisoner dies, the player loses all ammunition, fuel, and food, but keeps weapons and gadget upgrades as well as objective progression. In short, it's a very unique game that has a seemingly fun gameplay loop and a hilarious premise. The only thing is that this game is single player only, so you will have to brave the void by yourself. Now that we have the honorable mentions out of the way, it's time to get on to the main list. The first game on our list today is Starship Troopers Extermination. Now this one might be very fresh in my mind because it just came out recently and I have been playing it a lot, but man is this game so much fun. If you watch my beginner's guide video, I actually described Deep Rock as a mixture of Starship Troopers and Minecraft. If you have seen the movie Starship Troopers, which if you have not, I highly recommend, it is very good.
I'm doing my part.
then you know why I say that. This game basically is Deep Rock Galactic, but without dwarves, and you have a team of 16 instead of 4. There are 3 classes to choose from, each of which have their own skills and specialties. You work together with your team to complete objectives, build and defend bases, and mow down an absurd number of insect enemies that makes the swarm in Deep Rock look tiny by comparison. If you like DRG but want more focus on just the swarm fighting, then this game is for you. Just keep in mind that at the time of making this video, it is still in early access, so be aware that the game still has a long way to go. The second game on our list is Killing Floor 2. This game I like to describe as a stress ball in video game form. If you like playing the zombie mode in Call of Duty and want to take it to another level, then this is the game for you. In this game, you and up to 5 friends survive against hordes of monsters and failed experiments with intense combat, satisfying melee and gore, and a seemingly endless array of weapons and equipment to use. There are several classes you can pick from a medic to a sharpshooter to a commando, giving you many different ways to eviscerate the waves of Zeds coming after you. If that's not enough, they update this game consistently, adding new maps, bosses, and cosmetics that you can use to make yourself look snazzy. Now, this game does have a versus mode that you can play, but honestly, the versus mode is not too bad compared to other games. At number 3, we have Warframe. Now, I know a lot of people are probably skeptical about this one since they have probably heard a lot about this game already. Trying to describe Warframe is not a simple task because the game has been out for a very long time and gone through several different massive updates. Simplest way to describe Warframe is in one sentence: cyborg ninja robots from space. In all seriousness though, Warframe is a very fun game that allows you to customize almost every aspect of how you play. You take command of a cybernetic unit called a Warframe and go through several quests and missions in order to unlock weapons, gadgets, and all kinds of equipment, from hoverboards to mech bots to robofish. You can do all this either by yourself or with up to 3 other friends. There are over 40 different Warframe units that you can use in the game with their own powers and abilities, as well as over dozens of weapons, both guns and melee. What's more is Warframe is free to play, meaning there is nothing to lose by at least trying it out. Now, it can be a little intimidating at first because there is a lot to do in this game, but if you just take your time and go at your own pace, you will find your footing quite easily. At the time of making this video, they actually released a new update called the Deruvi Paradox that updates the new player experience, giving you a better first-time experience. Next up at number 4 is Risk of Rain 2. Now, this game is significantly easier to describe than Warframe, but not entirely unsimilar. You and up to 3 friends choose between a large roster of characters with their own abilities and work together to fight your way through an infinite amount of enemies and either defeat the boss and escape, or see how long you can last against an indefinite and ever-increasing horde. Throughout the game, you pick up a wide variety of power-ups during the run to help give you even more capabilities. This game is way more straightforward to talk about as it plays very similar to Killing Floor, where you just mow down huge hordes of enemies and try to get as far as you can each time. Finally, at number 5, we have Left 4 Dead. I'm sure anyone who has played games for the last 15 years is not surprised to see this game on the list. Arguably the grandfather and curator of the survival co-op experience. Either the original or the sequel, Left 4 Dead is one of the pinnacles of gaming history. If you are somehow unfamiliar with this game, you and up to 3 friends work together to make your way through different missions, going from safe house to safe house, finding weapons, equipment, and pathways to help you survive, all while fighting off hordes of infected undead and special undead that will come after you. If there was a game that fits the criteria perfectly, it would be this. It has premier levels of cooperation, very little competition except for an honestly pretty well balanced versus mode, and the barrier of entry is very low. All you need to know is stay together and slay zombies together. If you have 3 bored friends and you all have $10, I cannot tell you how many hours of joy you will gain from getting this game. Well, there you have it. 5 games that, if you like Deep Rock Galactic, you will certainly enjoy these games. There were more titles I wanted to cover here, but I didn't want this video to be too long. If you guys want a part 2 to this list, or if you want to see any of these games either covered or streamed at any point on the channel, let me know down in the comments. While I do love playing Deep Rock and the content for that will certainly not stop, I would like to know if you guys want to see more stuff on the channel. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful. Please be sure to give it a like because it tells me which types of videos you guys want to see. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time for another video.